Well, these financial groups provide a lifeline to ordinary Filipinos, especially the micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. Let's now have an exchange with Rod Mabiasen, Bangko's Head of Financial Inclusion and Microfinance Loans. Rod, thank you so much for joining us on the exchange. Just listening to many of our kababayans, mahirap talaga ngayon ang buhay. So during this COVID-19 health crisis, is Bangko committed to providing loans to small businesses?
Hi, Rico. And yes, Bangko is very committed to helping the self-employed micro-entrepreneurs. In fact, in the last 3 months and during the pandemic, we've been continuously issuing loans to micro-entrepreneurs that require additional capital to restart their businesses, especially knowing that 62% of our clientele closed their business during the quarantine and had to use their existing funds for personal uses. And that's why we offered our rehabilitation fund just recently to enable the existing clients to be able to have funds to restart their businesses, for example, to purchase additional inventory.
So, Rod, let's listen in now to a micro business owner, Norman Pagya, and his thoughts about microfinance borrowing.
Ayun nga, again, maluwag yung terms nila sa amin. Hindi lahat ng institution is ganon. Hindi lahat ng financing agency ganon, galuwag. Pero, yun nga, fortunate kami, again, dahil napunta nga kami sa isang institution na nakakaintindi dito sa client. Hindi unlike sa mga bangko talaga na late ka lang ng 3 months, talagang gusto ng batakin yung kinulateral mo sa kanila.
So, Rod, you've heard Norman. So far, he's had a good experience with smaller microfinance companies, but others have had bad experience, particularly banks with microfinance units. Is it true that if borrowers are late in paying, you will take away their collateral, such as their motorcycles, their tricycles, or their cars?
For our loan product, negotiable loan, Rico, if your loan amount is less than 150,000, we don't require a collateral. So for a minimum of 25,000 up to 150,000, you can borrow for your business expansion, additional purchase of inventory, or for investment purposes, meaning you want to extend your store space, for example, if you're a karinderya. Now, if your requirement is more than 150,000, we normally ask the client to be able to list down the asset that he would allow us to sell in case he defaults. But that's for larger amount, and we don't really register it. It's really a security for us to be able to see the commitment of the borrower in repaying his loans. And the requirements for a normal businessman would be very easy when he applies in Bangko. In fact, the simplest document that we require is a barangay permit or a mayor's permit. We don't ask for financial documents. The Bangko Bares and Bangko Pares, who we like to call our loans associates, actually visit the store location so that they can properly assess the loan amount that we can give to the borrower.
So no complicated requirements are needed. Let's listen now, Rod, to my colleague Lois Calderon, who spoke to an OFW returnee who's having a hard time making ends meet.
Erica Season gets a bill shock at the end of strict quarantine.
For March to June, almost 15,000 lang yung nagamit ko. Nasa akin pa yung mga resibo. September, na umabot na siya na nasa 30,000 plus. Hindi siya malinaw sa akin kung bakit merong interest yung credit card ko.
Her credit card bills have been piling up since March. Erica was able to save from 3 years of working in Japan, but this is running dry.
March or April ang pangako nila sa amin na makakabalik kami sa Japan. Kaso ang nangyari, since March, hindi na umusad yung papers namin dahil nag-lockdown na sa atin.
Coming from a middle-class family, Erica's life in Manila since the lockdown is a far cry from the luxuries before the pandemic. Cash was easy for high-end bags and a new condominium unit. But now she's a couple of months behind on her home mortgage. Erica has turned to selling lasagna and Japanese food to tide her family over during these hard times. The new Bayanihan law effectively lengthens the loan term by 2 months. Banks can still charge interest on the principal loan during those 60 days. But they cannot impose charges on interest and other penalties. For borrowers like Erica who wait with uncertainty to return to their high-paying jobs abroad, they're hoping more relief would come from their credit card debt and home mortgage. Lois Calderon, CNN Philippines.
So Rod, you heard the problems of Erica. She is an OFW returnee. What is your advice to her? Can she get a microloan for her online business and at the same time pay for her condo monthly and credit card payments?
Right. It's very critical for all businessmen to be able to manage their finances during these times. And yes, she'll be qualified to apply for a micro business loan in Bangko. And speaking of the difficulties of the micro entrepreneurs, Rico, this is the second tranche of grace period that the government is requiring banks to comply with. But even then, for Bangko, we've been talking to our clients and offering them term extensions so that they can easily afford the amortizations of their loans. We've also been accommodating moratoriums on top of the mandatory grace period. So I suggest for the borrowers who have their loan account somewhere else to talk to their lenders because I think the banks are very willing to compromise and help the micro entrepreneurs during these times.
Thank you so much for that money exchange, Rod Mabayasen, Bangko's Head of Financial Inclusion and Microfinance Loans.